You ever notice how the tiniest thing, like a kid blowing soap bubbles, can totally turn a room upside down? I swear, I've seen CEOs lock themselves in their offices for a week. I've watched families implode over less, but nothing prepared me for the day the cleaner's daughter blew those bubbles, and just like that, the whole Blackwood mansion started breathing again. You know what I mean? One second, everyone's walking on eggshells. The next, well, you just have to see it to believe it. Anyway, the real story started with Rose Johnson, scrubbing the marble bathroom in the big house. Hands raw, mind racing, babysitter texting that she's out again. It's 2:30 p.m. She's got 30 minutes till pickup, and Mr. Blackwood, you know the type, cold, all silver streaks and no nonsense, has already threatened her with a third strike. She finishes up, rushing past Mrs. Henderson and the catering staff in the kitchen, heart thumping, muttering under her breath, "Just don't lose this job. You lose this job, you lose the rent." That's it.so. Rose grabs her daughter Lily from school, sweet, gap-toothed, 7 years old, sits waiting on a bench with her whole little world in a worn backpack. No drama, just, "It's okay, mommy." Like she's the grown-up and Rose is the one who needs comforting. There's no time for anything but promises of mac and cheese and please, just sit quietly at the mansion while mommy works. And Lily? She's just happy to finally see the castle house. Back through the service entrance, Lily's stashed in the laundry room with a stack of books. Rose hustles upstairs. She's cleaning, checking her phone every 3 minutes for that emergency text. And then, of course, it happens. The sound, not just a child crying, but this ragged, animal sobbing from behind the one door she's been told never to open. The Blackwood boy. She's supposed to ignore it, but her phone buzzes. Lily's thirsty, and in 60 seconds, everything unravels. Lily's gone. Rose panics, checks every corner, and then, there it is, a giggle upstairs. The forbidden room's cracked open. Inside, a blue and white wonderland, toys untouched, trains on the tracks, and Lily sitting cross-legged with the Blackwood boy, who hasn't stopped crying in 3 days, just quietly staring at her as she blows bubbles with a bent straw. The kid's face, puffy, silent, but fascinated as Lily explains that 2 bubbles together are good luck, and look, you gotta be gentle, or it'll pop. And then, of course, Mr. Blackwood shows up in the doorway, filling it like a storm cloud. What's the meaning of this? His voice is so cold you feel the temperature drop. Rose stammers, apologizing, ready to get fired on the spot. But for the first time, the Blackwood boy pipes up, "Daddy, look, bubbles don't break if you're gentle." And right there, the ice starts to crack. Even William Blackwood can't help watching his kid laugh as Lily shows him how to make the bubbles dance. Instead of firing Rose, William watches. Then, after a quiet moment, he does something no one expects. He lets Lily stay, turns the East guest room into her after-school spot, bumps Rose's pay. "Let them play," he says, softer than before. That's when everything shifts. 3 weeks later, the mansion's filled with laughter, bubble games, cookies sneaked by Mrs. Henderson. Even the air seems lighter. Now, every day after school, Lily and Thomas are together, inventing games, building forts out of pillows, blowing bubbles in the sunlight. And Rose, counting her blessings, finally dares to imagine a future that's more than just surviving. Maybe her daughter gets her own room. Maybe they catch a break. But life isn't a fairy tale. That's when William asks to talk. Turns out, Thomas wants Lily to join him at Brighton Academy, the fancy school with tuition bigger than Rose's yearly salary. William says there's a scholarship. Rose is stunned, torn between gratitude and pride, between keeping Lily in the world she knows and offering her something more. And just as she's about to say no, Victoria Blackwood storms in, sharp as broken glass, all judgment and side-eye, demanding to know what Rose's intentions are. Victoria thinks Rose is after the money, the status, the whole Cinderella package. But the truth is, Rose never wanted any of that. She just wanted a job. Still, it's clear nothing about the Blackwoods is simple. Margaret, the late Mrs. Blackwood, haunts the place, her projects, her laughter in old photos, her absence. There's a whole legacy of grief and privilege and guilt no one knows how to navigate. The twist? Lily, of all people, is the one who gets through to Thomas, teaches him to send bubble wishes to heaven, tells him her own dad is up there, watching over her. Suddenly, Thomas starts to heal, to hope, even as the adults fumble through their own pain. And just when it seems the story's finally turned, Lily aces the Brighton entrance exam. Rose gets invited to the Blackwood Gala. The kids win a humanitarian award for their Bubbles of Hope project, helping other grieving children. Everything shatters. Police show up at the gala. William is questioned about his wife's death, brake lines tampered with, life insurance, secrets in the attic. The whole thing turns ugly. Thomas is terrified, Lily's quiet, and Rose, caught in the storm, wonders if the fragile peace they've built will vanish like, well, a soap bubble in the wind. It gets messy. 3 days of silence, legal documents everywhere, William and Victoria fighting behind closed doors. Turns out the police found something in Margaret's car, a USB drive full of files from Blackwood Technologies. There's talk of unapproved clinical trials, cover-ups, Project Lazarus, like something out of a thriller. Rose is asked to be a character witness. She's not sure what to believe, except this. She knows William loves his son, knows what grief looks like, knows you can't fake the kind of pain she's seen in that house. All the while, the kids keep blowing bubbles, keep sending wishes skyward, trying to hold on to innocence in a world grown-ups can barely make sense of. And maybe that's the real miracle, how 2 kids, a little soap and water, could do what all the therapists and money and good intentions couldn't. Bring a broken family back to life, even as the truth hovers, dangerous and unpopped, just out of reach. So, yeah, maybe that's how it is sometimes. You try to be gentle, you try not to break the bubble. But the world? It's complicated. There's justice, there's truth, and there's all the gray in between. And you, watching this, maybe you've got your own take. Who's right? Who's wrong? What really matters when everything's at stake? So tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were Rose? If you were William? Does every family deserve a second chance? Or do some secrets burst the bubble forever? And don't forget, if this story hit home, share it, subscribe, and let's talk about it. Because sometimes, the only thing standing between heartbreak and hope is a kid with a bubble wand, and someone brave enough to watch them try. You ever wake up and realize the ground underneath you just isn't steady anymore? Like, you think you're finally building something solid. Then out of nowhere, everything you thought you knew starts to shift, quiet at first, like the sound of your own breath before a storm. Then suddenly, it's all thunder and questions, and you wonder if any of those bubble wishes ever reach heaven at all. 3 days after the gala. The mansion is a different animal, tense, quiet, full of ghosts and murmurs. William drifts around the halls, barely speaking, haunted by the fact that every move he makes is being watched, judged, measured against secrets he didn't know he was keeping. Victoria's pacing like a caged lion, phone glued to her ear, every other word sounding like a chess move in a game no one taught Rose the rules for. And Rose, well, she's just trying to keep the world spinning for Lily and Thomas, making sandwiches, folding laundry, pretending this is just another Thursday and not the edge of some cliff. But kids, you know, they always sense it before anyone says a word. Thomas wakes up crying in the middle of the night. Rose finds him huddled in the hallway with his blanket, whispering about his mom's voice in the roses and asking if his dad is going to jail. Lily, usually all sunshine, is suddenly small, holding Rose's hand everywhere they go, watching every adult like she's searching for the punchline to a joke she's not sure she wants to hear. And in the background, Mrs. Henderson clatters around, her kindness dialed up, always sneaking the kids extra cookies, always looking over her shoulder. Then there's the police, coming and going, their questions circling like birds over roadkill. One morning, 2 detectives show up, one familiar from the gala, the other with eyes that never blink. They want to talk to William, to Victoria, and, awkwardly, to Rose herself. And it's strange, you know, how sitting in that formal study, Rose realizes that for all the marble and oil paintings, the Blackwoods are suddenly just another family falling apart in front of strangers. The questioning is almost surreal. They ask Rose about what she's seen, about William's moods, about whether she ever noticed Margaret afraid, whether the staff ever gossiped about business troubles or affairs or money. She tells them the truth. She's seen William at his lowest, seen him crumble for his son, never saw him angry in a way that felt dangerous, but she's not inside their world, not really. The detectives nod, scribble notes, thank her, move on. But something lingers in the air, something nobody's naming out loud. But the real twist isn't the investigation. It's the files the police found, the USB drive, the mysterious Project Lazarus, rumors about clinical trials, corporate secrets. Victoria's face when she hears Project Lazarus goes pale as paper. She won't talk about it with Rose, but late one night, Lily overhears Victoria crying in the kitchen, whispering to William. She was going to expose everything. That's why they killed her, not for money. Rose pretends not to hear, but the words hang around like a chill that won't fade. Meanwhile, the only thing holding the family together is routine, the bubble games in the garden, the Friday rituals. Even now, the kids want their bubble wishes, want to send messages to heaven. Tell Mommy I passed my swim test, Thomas says. Tell Daddy I miss him, Lily whispers into the sky. Sometimes, William joins them, but mostly he just stands at the edge of the rose garden, hands deep in his pockets, watching the bubbles float and burst, his eyes dark with something that looks a lot like regret. One evening, as the sun sets over the roses and the shadows turn the garden gold, Thomas asks a question that stops everyone cold. Rose, do you think if I wish hard enough, Mommy will send us a sign? Like a real sign? Not just a feeling. Lily nods solemnly. She's always believed in magic, always believed her daddy was watching. Rose feels the weight of all the broken promises in the world on her shoulders, so she just kneels down and says, I think sometimes the signs are small, honey. You just have to look really close. Maybe it's a song on the radio, or a special flower, or the way the sunlight hits the window. Maybe even a bubble that doesn't pop when it should. And just then, as if on cue, one of Lily's bubbles floats higher and higher, across the garden, through the rays of sunlight, and instead of popping, it lands gently on a rose, shimmering there for a long, impossible moment before finally bursting in a flash of color. Thomas laughs, the first real laugh in days, and for a moment, everyone pretends that's enough, but the world won't wait. That night, William is called downtown for more questioning. This time, it's serious. Victoria stays behind, her composure cracking, and as she sits with Rose in the kitchen, she finally lets her guard down. He didn't do it, you know, she says, voice raw, but someone did. Margaret had enemies, powerful ones. And if the truth comes out, this whole family could be destroyed by the press, by the company, maybe even by each other. Rose listens, not sure what to believe anymore, just knowing that none of this is fair. Not to Thomas, not to Lily, not even to William, who's done nothing but try to hold on to whatever's left. Days pass. News crews start camping outside the mansion. Rumors swirl about the Blackwood Foundation, about who benefits from Margaret's death, about the files found in her car. Lily is bullied at school. Parents whisper. Kids repeat what they hear at home. Rose wants to run, to protect her daughter, but there's nowhere left to go. Instead, she finds herself comforting not just Lily, but Thomas, Victoria, even Mrs. Henderson, who's seen too many families implode over things they couldn't control. And then, one afternoon, another twist. A letter arrives, addressed to Margaret in handwriting no one recognizes. Inside is a single photograph, Margaret and a woman Rose doesn't know, both smiling, holding hands at a protest, a sign in the background reading "No more secrets." On the back, scrawled in black ink, some bubbles don't burst. They just float away. Rose shows the photo to William, who goes pale. He says nothing, but suddenly, he's up all night, making phone calls, pacing the halls. The investigation drags on. But slowly, something shifts. The police focus on someone else, a board member at Blackwood Technologies, connected to the clinical trials. Victoria is called in to testify, and for the first time, William lets himself hope. The summer ends. The memorial garden is dedicated, Margaret's name carved into a stone, surrounded by the roses she loved. Lily and Thomas stand together, bubble wands in hand, sending wishes skyward. The crowd is silent as the bubbles rise, dozens of them, catching the light, floating over the crowd, over the new roses, over the mansion that has seen too much sorrow. As the ceremony ends, Rose catches William's eye. He looks tired, older, but there's something softer in his face now. They stand together, just outside the crowd, watching the children. "You think things will ever go back to normal?" he asks, voice barely above a whisper. Rose shakes her head. "I don't think normal is coming back, William. But maybe something better will." He nods, accepting that truth, and for the first time, he lets his hand rest lightly on Rose's shoulder. No pretense, no distance, just two people holding each other up in the middle of all that's uncertain. But as the last bubble bursts in the sunlight, Rose knows nothing's really settled. Not the case, not the past, not the future. Maybe that's the point. Maybe life's never about finding answers, but about learning to live in the questions, holding tight to the small, good things. Laughter, hope, bubble wishes to. So what about you? If you could send a message on a bubble, one that floated higher than all the noise and pain, what would you wish for? Justice? Forgiveness? Just one more moment of peace for the people you love? Drop your wish in the comments below, and let's see how far they can go. Because sometimes it's the smallest, most fragile things that keep us together, long after the world thinks we should have fallen apart. And if this story meant something to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own bubble wish with someone who needs it. Maybe, just maybe, that's how the world gets better, one gentle breath at a time.